Hey everyone, it's Daniel here from etfs. Hope you're all doing well. So the unemployment rate, if you've noticed, has been at very low levels for a long time. And you must be wondering what's going on, right? You hear that tech companies out there, some of them laying off workers, Goldman Sachs doing third round of layoffs, the banking sector is under trouble, right? Mergers and acquisitions, there's not much dealings going on there, so we gotta lay off some workers, right? Consulting industries as well, not much activity, gotta lay off workers, right? So you're seeing this trend of layoffs happening, yet the unemployment rate is still at all-time lows, at very low levels. So is this a good thing or a bad thing? And generally, when unemployment rates are at very low levels, you would think it's a good thing. You would hear from your president that, the unemployment rate is at, very low levels. We're doing good. The economy is strong. But actually, that's when things start to break. That's when the worst starts to come. Now, the data may be lagging. The data may not be so accurate as well when you look at non-farm payrolls report. The certain components of non-farm payrolls double count jobs. So it's not, showing you the full picture. And with the lagging data out there, it's also not showing you the full picture, but it does always hint towards that, when things are super good and unemployment rate is at all-time lows, we tend to see the opposite happen. Just like, for example, the stock market. Take the stock market as an example, where we've been seeing at the start of this year, NASDAQ has been up almost 30% plus, higher, right? If you bought NASDAQ, you would have been up 30%. But what happened to all the recession calls? I've heard people saying that, this year, Q1 is the crash is coming. First quarter, it's coming. Actually, when everyone's expecting something, it never comes, especially when it comes to the stock market, right? If everyone's bearish, it's not going to come. If everyone's bullish, then, the reverse is going to happen. So same thing with the unemployment rate. If you look back in history, right, these low levels are a warning sign that this could pick up. Now, another thing is that also when you look at the number of U.S. employees out there, almost close to half of all U.S. employees are employed by small businesses. Now, small businesses are the ones to be affected first and the hardest. Just look at 2020 during that time, right? When you had to be locked up in your house. The small businesses were suffering. They had to close down. They couldn't operate, especially if you had a restaurant, a small restaurant, or you had a small grocery store. But Walmart was still allowed to stay open. Costco was still allowed to stay open. A lot of these big retailers were still allowed to do business, right? Even though majority of the employees are hired by the small businesses. And that's why we also saw a huge spike in the unemployment rate as well during the COVID time. Now, this time, with a recession looming, expected to see something break, we could see the same thing, especially as credit conditions start to tighten. And when credit conditions start to tighten, who are the businesses that are going to need money? Who are the ones that are going to need some sort of loan, some sort of help? It's the small businesses. They're the ones who are going to come out and say, hey, I need a loan I need, more money for my operating expenses. I need to operate the next day. Relying on the banks to give them some sort of money out there. Now, if credit conditions tighten and the banks are tightening the credit conditions, they're more going for a strategy of getting deposits in rather than lending out money. And they're tightening the conditions, making it harder for you and I to get a loan, right? So if these conditions start to tighten, then what's going to happen to small businesses? They're going to be affected. And if they're affected, they can't pay an employee's salary, they will start to lay off the employees. Right now, you're hearing all these news and coverage around Goldman Sachs, Google, etc., Amazon, and so on, laying off workers. Wait till it really gets worse for the small businesses. Not saying that they have not been laying off workers, but wait till it gets really worse where some of them have to shut down or completely lay off everyone because the recession is just getting worse and worse. Rates are too high. They can't get funding. They can't get credit. Credit conditions tighten. And then again, going back to that statistic that nearly almost half of U.S. Americans out there are employed by small businesses. Those businesses would be wiped out and the unemployment rate would skyrocket all of a sudden, right? But before that happens, you would need something to break fundamentally in the economy. You need the banking sector and the credit to basically seize. And then you're going to see this data reflect that just because it's lagging out there. And look at the Russell 2000, right? Look at the indexes also. S&P 500, Russell 2000, Dow Jones, right? NASDAQ. NASDAQ's been the best performing index out there. Again, 30% plus return. But Russell 2000's having a tough time. It's near its lows. And I think it's the Russell 2000s that's going to have a really bad performance in this recession, this crash, and it's going to plunge. And you can see it in the index. It's not getting much buying activity because the Russell 2000 index follows small businesses. It's the small cap index. And if you're already seeing the market react to that index and favoring more NASDAQ and this AI hype versus the small businesses, you can expect that something is not looking good for small businesses, which AKA, would lead to something down the line when it comes to unemployment rate spiking really, really hard. So the unemployment rate that's low right now, and it's not spiking because of the lagging indicator and maybe how things are calculated, but also, most importantly, we have yet to see these small businesses suffer even further. I'm not saying that they're not suffering, they're definitely suffering, but suffer even further that causes this job problem, job losses, the unemployment rate to skyrocket, and cascading into a really bad recession. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below, subscribe, hit the like button, bell icon to be notified on the next video, and I'll see you guys around. Cheers, bye.